In this video, we'll understand two modes in which our computer operates, that are user mode and kernel mode. Before that, we'll understand what kernel is. I assure you, when you'll understand the kernel concept, you'll immediately get what the user mode and kernel mode is. So, stick with us till the end of the video. You can see a kernel in any computing device. If you go in your phone's setting and go in about phone, you'll see details of your phone's kernel. It has its name, code, version, date of update and other details. So what is this kernel and why we should know about this kernel and its use? So increase your awareness level for the next two sentences. First, the kernel is a software program, and second, it is used to access the hardware components. Take the example of your mobile phone. It's used to access the hardware components like the camera, speakers, headphone jack, display, Wi-Fi modules, Bluetooth modules, processor, you name it, so on and so forth. For example, you want to take a photo from your smartphone. You click on the camera application and immediately the camera hardware gets activated and you can see the objects in front of your camera. Now let's see how internally this works. The camera application requests a software to access the camera hardware behind your smartphone. Once it gets the permission, the camera starts. This software, this middle level software, is nothing but the kernel. Again, when you have taken a photograph and you want to save it in your internal storage or the memory card you have mounted on your phone, you again need permission of the kernel. And once you have got that permission, you can save it in your storage. Kernel is basically a software that is bridge between the application and hardware. The applications or the softwares requests for hardware through kernel. Also, when you switch on your PC or your laptop, you see boot animation, logos, software load, version load. This is all possible through kernel. Now, this is not only limited to internal hardware but to external hardware as well, like the printer, scanner. For example, suppose you are browsing on the internet using Chrome's browser and you found an important file, a PDF file, and you downloaded it and saved it. To save that file, you need kernel's permission. And after getting that permission, it's saved on your hard disk. Now you open the file, start reading it, and you find it's an important file. So you decide to print it. Now that PDF reader will request the kernel for the external printer to print your PDF file. And after getting that permission, you can print your PDF file. So basically, when an application or its processes, which are nothing but its parts, starts running, they are in the user mode. Like in previous example, when you were browsing the internet or when you were just reading the PDF file, you were in the user mode. But once the application or its processes requests for hardware by or through kernel, you enter, or the applications or its processes enter in the kernel mode. It's that simple. And this requesting to the kernel is done through system calls, which are nothing but instruction or commands given to the kernel. So you can see your program basically frequently switches between the user mode and the kernel mode. The important thing here to remember is the application or the part of it, that is the process, can either be in kernel mode or user mode at a single moment of time. When any application starts running, it's in the user mode, and then it frequently switches to kernel mode for execution of privileged instructions or accessing privileged hardware. So now let us discuss some differences between the user mode and kernel mode. These differences are also very important from exam point of view. So let's begin. First, modes. In user mode, or the user mode is referred as the slave mode or the restricted mode, which simply means the application running in this mode has many restrictions on it. Whereas the kernel is the master mode, the privileged mode, the supervisor mode. Here, applications have no restrictions at all. Second, if application is running in user mode and if some interrupt occurs, then only one process is crashed. So very little damage is done. Whereas if you are running in the kernel mode and some interrupt occurs, some problem occurs, then the complete operating system gets crashed. So you need to reinstall the operating system or to restart your PC. Third is memory access. If you are in user mode, then you have very limited memory access. Private address space is allocated to it. But if you are in kernel mode, you can access any memory location. There is no restriction. And fourth, if you are executing in user mode and you want to access the kernel data structures or kernel programs, you cannot access them directly. Whereas if you are executing in the kernel mode, you can access the common or the user's data structure as well as the kernel's data structures and programs. So to put this video in a nutshell, our computer operates in two modes. Most commonly used mode is user mode and next is kernel mode. Both these modes were introduced to provide more security for the operating system. In kernel mode, you have unrestricted access to the all resources of the operating system, whereas in user mode, you have limited access to the resources. Most critical jobs of the operating system are executed in the kernel mode. Also, the processor in the system frequently switches between the user mode and the kernel mode. If the processor is running in the kernel mode, it's assumed that it's running a trusted software. So this was all about user mode and kernel mode. If you have more knowledge related to this topic, or if you have any questions, share in the comment section below. Also, in the next video, we are going to discuss a very important subject of the operating system, that is processes. So, if you don't want to miss the next exciting video, also a video which is very important from exam point of view, consider subscribing. Till then, keep learning by doing, keep learning, keep growing. See you in the next video. Bye bye and take care.